Chapter 449. The bathroom they had been using was a lavish space, almost mistaken for an artful lounge if not for the large white tub in the center and the mirror that hung before it. The round floor was covered in smooth, water-resistant white stone tiles bordered with gold-accented tiles that formed intricate patterns. Beside the bathtub stood a large ceramic basin, its edges finely etched with delicate designs, placed atop a lavishly crafted wooden stand. Scattered throughout the room were valuable gemstone pieces and paintings that, at a casual glance, seemed merely decorative. In reality, they were magic tools, allowing one to easily turn the water on and off or ventilate the space. As soon as Kishir stepped into the bathroom, he began undressing himself without waiting for an invitation. There was a time when he had deliberately avoided looking at that body, but now Yudhir found it hard to look away from the man's exposed form. Even when clothed, Kishir's physique didn't seem scrawny, but the revealed flesh was truly remarkable. His muscles were tightly coiled from years of rigorous training, and his long, solid limbs were a sight to behold. The balance between his bones and skin seemed like meticulously crafted sculpture. Even the genitalia that Yudhir had just touched moments ago seemed perfect. This was the first time Yudhir had looked so candidly at someone's naked body without feeling either awkward or repulsed. However, it was likely that anyone who saw that body would feel awe and admiration rather than shame. After undressing, Kishir turned his head to look at Yudhir, who was still in the midst of disrobing. Although he must have sensed Yudhir's gaze upon him, Kishir calmly smiled and gestured to Yudhir's half-removed shirt. "Need help undressing?" His voice was both blatantly seductive and teasingly soft. "No." Yudhir shook his head and quickly shed his nearly buttonless shirt. While Yudhir finished taking off the rest of his clothes, Kishir leisurely washed, pressing the statue to fill the tub with water. "You know," Yudhir had just removed his last piece of underwear and straightened his back when he heard Kishir's voice behind him. "My assistant has a beautiful back, straight posture, slender waist." It was attractive enough in uniform, but even more so without. "Really?" Caught off guard, Yudhir turned his head, only for Kishir to move closer. Beyond the sound of warm water pouring and the steam filling the air, Kishir's natural scent permeated. "And your legs are also beautiful, especially when you run or leap. They seem like they were born to run," Kishir continued, his eyes scanning Yudhir's thighs and calves before returning to his face. "Didn't you grow a bit taller since you first joined the cavalry?" "Yes, you're correct. How did you know?" Yudhir had continued growing even beyond his age in his previous life, and this time was no different. Albeit he had grown a bit faster, possibly due to better nutrition. It was such a minuscule difference. He was surprised Kishir had noticed. "How could I not? I'm always watching you," Kishir replied, smiling. The bathtub was large enough to accommodate 2 men taller than average. Skillfully, Kishir opened a container by the tub's edge, sprinkling in high-end bath soap shaped like flower petals. As they dissolved, the petals transformed into a translucent golden froth, enveloping the 2 submerged bodies. In his previous life, Yudhir knew that nobles often used special soaps, but he had never understood the point of using such extravagant items. Thus, he had hardly ever tried them out. Even now, knowing that he was in a bathroom, he had focused solely on quickly washing up and leaving, opting for the ordinary soap always placed near the sink. However, as he reclined amidst the golden bubbles and looked at Kishir through dampened lashes, Yudhir finally seemed to understand the allure of such luxuries. Yudhir's gaze shifted toward his reflection in the mirror beyond the bathtub. he noticed something he hadn't when undressing. Multiple discolored spots on his neck and collarbone area. All were places Kishir had been lingering with his lips. "I'm sorry, you will likely have some marks left," Kishir said, as if knowing exactly where Yudhir's attention had drifted. Yudhir blinked a few more times before shaking his head. "It's fine." Though a bit surprised, he wasn't upset. He lightly touched the marked areas, feeling a tingling and slightly stinging sensation on his skin. As he reflexively pulled his hand away to touch the spots again, Kishir reached out to stop him. "It's already quite stimulating just by looking. Let's leave it at that." His voice had dropped lower, tinged with a languid quality. Startled, Yudhir withdrew his hand. Kishir grinned. "You have never used this soap before, have you? Is it to your liking?" "Yes." "Good to hear." "Have you always been using it?" Yudhir inquired. "No, it's usually too much of a hassle," Kishir said, lowering his head as his lips curled into a secretive smile. "But this is a special occasion. I was curious to see what it would be like to watch you enveloped in these bubbles." "And how do you feel?" "I have to acknowledge the dedication of whoever created this just for a beautiful bath. It's quite satisfying." At that moment, when Yudhir looked into Kishir's face, turned toward him, his heart skipped a beat. He exhaled deeply, gazing at the man who seemed to admire him like a work of art. His voice came out, soft and distant. "I think I find it nice too." "Hmm?" "Your body is much more beautiful and pleasing to look at than mine. ... Dot dot dot." Kishir seemed not to have expected a compliment in return, and his eyes widened for a moment before he burst into unreserved laughter. "Thank you for that." Did I truly become a beast? Although his inner self argued that this reaction was normal, Yudhir couldn't help but doubt whether he was too easily affected by Kishir once more. Regardless of his internal debate, Kishir relished the bath. He playfully scooped up bubbles to lather on Yudhir's face and then gave him a peck on the tip of his nose. As Yudhir tried to ward off the man's nonsensical offer to shampoo his hair, their bodies accidentally touched. Frozen for a moment at the sensation of their skin meeting amidst the silky foam, Kishir pulled him into a deep kiss. The strong feeling that surged through him when long fingers caressed his foam-covered face was intense enough to send shivers down his spine. When Yudhir regained his senses, he found himself reciprocating the kiss, his body now straddling Kishir in the water. Eventually, he grew comfortable enough with the gentle, playful touches that caressed his bare skin, and it was only after sullying the water once more that their fervor subsided. After changing his clothes, Yudhir sat waiting for Kishir to emerge, reflecting on the conversation they had earlier. The reason Kishir could spend the whole day without giving any indication to Yudhir, quietly waiting for him to speak first, was that he now had ample free time compared to his previous life. Because he sincerely valued the opportunity that time afforded, he was able to extend his hand in anticipation of what would come next. Some might call this waiting and patience a waste of time, but Yudhir couldn't agree. The moments that Kishir had let pass had greater significance to him than any words or actions, and had paved the way for outcomes like the present one. Today, Yudhir had told Kishir several clues to the truth, including his own name. Given what had been revealed so far, Kishir might be able to come very close to the actual truth. However, that wasn't the whole truth. Yudhir himself still don't know why and how he was able to travel back to the past. Telling fragments of a truth that even he wasn't fully aware of would only result in reliance on the other's faith, without yielding any concrete results. Kishir had said that providing the answer and having Yudhir confirm it would be enough, but Yudhir thought that wouldn't suffice. How could he confirm something when he himself didn't know the whole truth? Such an act would not serve as an adequate answer for Kishir. To prove that the enormous patience shown by Kishir was justified and to stay by his side in the future, Yudhir needed something more than just relying on the other's faith. The missing pieces of the entire truth, which were currently not in Yudhir's possession, were precisely that requirement.